Good afternoon and welcome to the Foster Swift Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Dave Russell. I'm joined alongside my co-host, Tony Delamonte. Today we're pleased to be joined by Lilly Williams. Lilly is one of the top high school basketball players in Michigan, earning the prestigious title Miss Michigan Basketball, awarded annually to the state's best senior player. She's also a McDonald's All-American, the Gatorade Player of the Year, and Lilly has committed to play for Michigan State women's basketball next year. Lilly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to get started.
So on this podcast, we talk with a lot of different athletes and, like to learn about their journey, in particular their recruiting journey. And so I guess that's where I kind of like to start today is, hear about your recruiting journey through AAU club and, what that looked like.
Yeah, I would say my recruitment journey started at a very young age. I got my first offer in 7th grade from Ohio State. And so kind of after that, it just kind of started to get the ball rolling. I have a huge thanks to just the whole Michigan Mystics family. Rob Brustoffer, he's like kind of the director of the program, and he has been super helpful kind of throughout that whole process for me of just being able to help me. Being at tournaments where there's coaches, sitting at the baseline watching you, he always just reminded me that, you're a player and put that first. Don't get worried about the people on the sidelines watching you and stuff. And I had great coaches also with Mystics and just even with school, with homeschool basketball and stuff, just to be able to kind of help me through that process. But yeah, I think after like my first or second offer, it was kind of crazy. It just kind of, everyone kind of started talking to me after that. And it was kind of a surreal feeling of, I was in middle school still, and, you start getting recognized by these big schools, and it was super amazing. And I just feel so blessed to be able to like have that opportunity. I decided for my recruitment stage, I wanted to end it short. It was just a lot. And so I decided that I wanted to commit. I was a sophomore, which was super fun. And I decided to go to Michigan State. And it was just a great fit. And I mean, I can talk about that more too, if you want.
Yeah, why don't we talk about that? So Michigan State, we've heard a lot of really good things about Robin Freilich. What sold you?
Yeah, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. One of my coaches, Dave Dalton, he is basically like grandpa to me. I love him so much. He's amazing. He has helped me fall in love with the game of basketball again, and I'm just super thankful for him. He knows as a player how I like to be coached, what I value as a person, and so he would always tell me, he's like, if I had to pick any coach for you that would help you not just get better as a player, not just like get better as a person, she's just like, I would pick Robin Freilich for you. She is the perfect coach. And at the time she was at Bowling Green. And so I was like, okay, I'm like, I don't really want to go to Bowling Green. I'm not even going to to look at them just because I want to be able to go to like a bigger school and stuff. And he was just like, okay. And for like 2 or 3 years, it was just kind of like, it would come up all the time of like, that's the coach for you, like, trust me on this. And so at some point I ended up going with his granddaughter, Kira Ream, and she was on my team also. And we went to Toledo and Bowling Green to like go watch practice. And I was like, okay, like I'll just get to meet her, see if what he's saying is like, oh, it's actually like what he's saying, And I get there and it ends up she's on some like recruitment type of thing. And so she wasn't even there. So I didn't get to meet her. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And we get back and I think it was like maybe a few months later, I get a call and it's Coach Dalton. And he's like, hey, did you see who the new head coach is at Michigan State? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I had no idea. And he just told me it was Robin Freilich. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, it's a big school. It's close to home. And so I kind of started talking to them. They reached out and it was just perfect. Like just being able to talk to the coaching staff and who they were, not just as coaches, but also as people, what their values were. It was amazing of how perfect a fit it was. And it was cool to just like talk to players and stuff and how much their game of basketball changed even in just 1 year of having that coaching staff there, which was super cool. And so that was a really huge part of my decision to want to go to Michigan State, but it was also just the fact that it's 45 minutes away from my house. I'm a big family person, and so it was super cool to be able to have that opportunity to be able to have that support from my family. I have 3 older siblings. 2 of them played sports in college, and they went to schools that were over 3-4 hours away. And so I saw how hard it was for them to kind of go through that and not being able to have that support from your family. And I kind of realized, I'm like, okay, like I want to be able to have that support. And so it just kind of all worked together perfectly. It wasn't just close. It was also the coaching staff was amazing. And I knew that I'm going to be able to play my 4 years there and be able to finish those 4 years and still say that I love the sport of basketball. So, yeah.
So throughout your process, were you taking official visits? It sounds like you obviously had a very early offer from Ohio State. What did that process look like visiting schools?
Yeah. I never got to go on any official visits because I was too young, except when I went to Michigan State for my official visit after I committed like a year later. But I went to like a few schools, and it was a super cool experience. I got to go with like my parents and stuff. They bring you around, you get to put the uniform on and everything. I think the ones I went to was Michigan, Indiana, and Iowa and Purdue. I went to those ones, just kind of like look around the campus because I knew I wanted to stay close to home. And yeah, it was super fun to be able to have that like kind of weekend or day with my parents to be able to go see a game, see how they practice and stuff, and be able to get to know the coaches and stuff. So, yeah.
What was your parents' reaction when you got the offer in 7th grade? Were you guys surprised, or was this like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, we kind of knew this was coming?
Yeah, I honestly, it was a huge surprise because I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere. Just, because it was my first offer and I hadn't really talked to any coaches a lot before that. I remember my dad and mom, they were in like their bedroom. They called me and they're like, okay, like we're going to make this call. We're going to call like Ohio State or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like I had no idea. And so I remember sitting down on their bed and I'm like talking to this coach and he like gave me the offer. And I just remember like being so shocked and like I stopped listening to like what the coach was saying. I was so shocked. I don't remember anything else that happened. I just remember like looking at my parents and just being flooded with emotions of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like this is already happening, because you go through all of those hours of hard work. And so to be able to see it pay off at even such a young age, it was just kind of unbelievable. And so I'm super thankful for that. And I'm really thankful that I got to be able to share that moment with both of my parents.
With having interest at such a young age, had you started the process where you were going to prospect camps, sending out emails, sending out film?
Yeah. I went to a lot of camps, smaller camps, like going to ones. My sister went to Bethel University in Indiana, so I went to those camps. I went to some other smaller ones like Cedarville or Spring Arbor and stuff with my sisters and some of my teammates from the homeschool league. And yeah, so it kind of started with that, getting on social media, getting those highlights and, trying to post as consistently as you can. And if I'm being honest, I don't remember ever sending a single email. So yeah.
And what was that experience like with some of your other teammates? You mentioned the Mystics. Were some of your teammates getting recruited as well? Were you guys able to sort of share in that experience? Because it is a unique experience that not a lot of people go through.
Yeah. So when I was in 5th grade, that's when I started playing with Michigan Mystics. I was on a different team than like when I finished playing with Mystics. So my first team I was with on Mystics, we had a lot of top players. I'm not sure if you know like the names. 2 of them is like Kendall Smith and Sydney Savory. We were all on the same team, and so they were getting a lot of recognition also at the same age, and so that was kind of a cool experience to be able to kind of have other people that you can talk to about that can like kind of understand what you're going through, because yes, it's very fun to be able to be recognized for like your skills and stuff, but it also can be stressful, especially like at a young age. And so it was cool to be able to have, those people that can help you through that are going through the same thing. And then kind of as I got older, I started playing with another team with Mystics, and everyone on that team is very skilled. They all were getting looked at. 2 of them committed to Western Michigan to play basketball. Another one's going to like Ferris State, Wayne State, and other schools like that. And so it was fun to be able to see some of my best friends, being able to have that opportunity also and being able to talk about that. And it was cool just because I committed at such a young age. I didn't really talk about it a lot with my friends because, no one was really expecting me to commit so young. And so being able to talk with my other teammates of like kind of through that decision process and what that looked like to be able to give them advice, but then also like listening to like them and stuff of like what they wanted to look for in colleges and stuff, and being able to see them make that decision was super cool.
And what went into that decision to commit early? We've talked with recruits, and Dave's daughter is going to play college lacrosse, and I feel like we've heard that there sort of reaches a point where and you don't really want this unknown still going on. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so there was a very specific moment that I kind of knew, and I wasn't even at the campus. I wasn't on campus. I wasn't talking to the coaches when that moment hit. And I was like, oh, like, I know that this is like where I want to go. I had gone to campus, and it was like a week or two later, and my sister, she played basketball at Bethel, and she was playing Spring Arbor. It was the one close game that like our whole family could go to. So like my whole family was able to go. Some of like her old teammates from high school were able to go. My cousins and grandparents, we all like got a giant van, and we all like went down, like I think it was an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and we all got to like go watch her game. And I just remember that feeling of like how happy she was to be able to like have her family there and support her. And I'd already had like a great relationship with like the Michigan State coaches, but it kind of hit me like when we had to say goodbye to my sister, and she had to like go back to Indiana, and she just like had tears in her eyes, and she was so like sad that she had to leave, and to like she hadn't seen us in a few months. And so it was crazy to think like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I don't know if I want to be that far away from home, to not be able to have that kind of support. And so I thought that right then and there, I was like, I don't want to go far away. I want to be able to stay close. And it's like, I have these amazing coaches that are right here in Michigan, like 45 minutes away from home. And so that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, like, this is real, like, that's where I want to go. And so then it was kind of like talking to my parents, like right when we got in the car, I was like, Mom, Dad, like, I don't know if I like want to go far away. I was talking to them about that. And so it was cool. And then it was like maybe like a month or two later, I decided, I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to wait. I know where I want to go. I don't want to, like waste my time in a way and waste other coaches' times, because if I know where I want to go, I'm just going to make that decision. So it's super fun to be able to do that. I'm sorry. No, you're good. But yeah, so that was kind of the moment I knew.
And so I want to back up a little bit and ask you a little bit about your high school career. I understand, or I believe in my my little bit of research, that you won 2 national homeschool titles during high school, and then later moved to Howell High School for your senior year. Is that right?
Yes.
So can you just explain how the transition was, and just how you enjoyed high school basketball?
Yeah. Well, I've been homeschooled my entire life up until this past year, going to Howell. And so I would say for school, just being able to transition, it was definitely different because, I'm used to being homeschooled, having kind of my own schedule, being able to do things at my own pace. And we did a lot. I did like a lot of dual enrollment. I was able to get 52 credits while I was in high school, which is amazing. I'm super thankful for that. And so it was a transition to just like for school to be able to have like a set schedule every single day, and to be in class for like basically a whole half of your day. Waking up at 6 a.m. was not fun, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, the transition to that. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but the community at Howell made the transition so much easier than I could have expected. We moved out to the area recently, and so that was kind of played a deciding factor that I wanted to, go to Howell for my senior year. But it's been super fun. And then also with basketball, being homeschooled, we didn't really have like a home gym for our homeschool team. And so I didn't have like a gym that I could just go into whenever I wanted to like get shots up, or like have a weight room, or have like a weight coach and stuff like that. It was all kind of on your own to be able to do it. And so being able to have practices every single day at Howell was super fun, to be able to have that opportunity, because I love being able to get into the gym and like work as hard as I can, And so that was super fun to be able to have that. But yeah, that was kind of the biggest difference I would say for me, is just waking up early and having that set schedule. And like, yeah, but everyone made the transition super easy. I made a lot of friends really fast, and so they've kind of helped me through that whole process, and now I feel like I've been here for years. So
the girls' basketball coach at Howell High School had to have been the happiest coach in the state of Michigan when you decided you were coming to Howell. That had to be the greatest news ever.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, It was funny. When someone had told him, like when I like announced it, like I was going to come to Howell, he didn't even believe it. He was like, this isn't funny. He's like, that's not true. Like he was talking about that because him and one of his friends would always joke. He's like, oh, just imagine if we got like some 6'5", like amazing basketball players join our program. Like imagine how crazy that would be. And then like I show up and he's like, no, that's not real. Like.
And what was that experience like? Sort of meeting new teammates as you're a senior, sort of acclimating to the team. You know, how did that go?
Yeah, it was a little hard in the beginning. I'm used to like being a leader on the team, you know, not being the new one, being able to lead by example. And so kind of coming in there and being the new one, even though I'm a senior, you know, it's my last year, I was like, okay, like this is a little new. It's a little bit of a different role. But I would say that like all of the seniors, we had 5 seniors this year, including me, and 4 other seniors, they were so welcoming and they did a great job kind of just welcoming me into that role because they knew that like I was a leader. And so it kind of took a second to be able to get into that. But it was super cool just to see how much they led by example, and just how much they welcomed me in, but also my other teammate who came from homeschool basketball, Lila Valentine, she also came in and she came to Howell, and so that was super fun to be able to like go with her. But yeah, it was a different style of coaching, different style of play, which I really enjoy. I love being able to kind of do different things with basketball. So that was kind of a super cool experience to be able to have. And yeah, I was really proud of like how far we got in the season and how well our season went. And so it was a really fun experience to be able to do.
Yeah, and you had a very successful season. At one point, I believe, knocked off the #1 team in the state in a really exciting game with the same team that I think you met back up with in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was with Belleville. It was a little sad, you know, because we knew we had it in us to be able to beat them. And so to kind of be able to end our season against them was kind of sad, but, you know, everything works out for a reason. So it was really cool to be able to see what we were capable of. And, you know, we didn't finish out our season how we wanted to. It's not the game like how we wanted to end, you know, shots just weren't falling and stuff. But it was cool, very cool to look back at our season and how successful it was and just being able to see how far everybody grew as a player and a person and just being able to see like how close we all grew also.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Can you explain the homeschool league a little bit for people that don't know? And admittedly, you know, I talked to Dave this morning and I was like, there's a homeschool league? And so how does that work? Like, where does it pool from and who do you guys play?
Yeah. It's kind of, it's more, I don't know what I would call it. It's boys and girls. I don't know, I think it's like 10U all the way up to varsity, and it's kind of crazy. It's like a huge community. You kind of come from all over. So I played for AGA Firebirds. It was located out of Novi, but we had players coming from like Farmington Hills, Milford, Livonia, and like kind of like everywhere. But we all kind of came together. We would get 3 practices a week. We would have like normal game schedules, but we had more than 22 games like a normal high school team gets. And I think there was like 4 or 5 other teams in Michigan, not including like our team. And you kind of like, you would play those teams. You could join like LBI tournaments with normal high school teams preseason. But kind of once the season got rolling, you would play a bunch of other homeschool teams that were in the area, or you would travel down to like Indiana and you'd have tournament style things where you'd go against teams from Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and like Wisconsin, kind of like pulling from all those other states and stuff. And so we would have states was kind of our smaller one, and that was all of the teams that were homeschooled in Michigan. We would all kind of play against each other for like the state tournament. And then we would go to regionals, which is the Midwest region. So that was like the states that I mentioned earlier of like Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and like all those ones. And then from regionals, you go to nationals, and that is in Missouri every year. And you kind of travel down with your team and you get to play all of like the homeschool teams that are in the U.S. And so that was like super fun to be able to do that because you have over 500 teams that are all homeschooled. and there's like thousands and thousands of people there, and it's like super cool to be able to do that because at the end of the week for nationals, you have your national championship games, you get like the dunk contest, the All-American game, and like the 3-point contest and stuff, and it's super fun because we play at Drew University, and they like fill out the whole stadium, which is super fun. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's kind of a hidden world that not a lot of people know about, but
I bet you there's probably a pretty strong community with all you guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah, homeschool families are usually pretty big. So yeah, it's fun. You have like the brothers and sisters and siblings and cousins and everybody. They're all part of the same program. And so you all travel together. We would get like huge team houses and we would stay for tournaments. We'd have like a Airbnb we'd rent out and our whole team would stay there for the week, and it was really fun.
Tony's a brother rice kid. He thinks everyone goes to these expensive private schools.
Oh, my God. There's no need for that, Dave.
So I guess the question I want to ask you, Lily, then is, obviously your homeschool team was very, very successful, had a lot of talent on it. How would that team have fared in a Michigan High School Athletic Association tournament?
I think we would have been very successful. It was fun to see. The team we played last year for the national championship was the West Michigan Hornets, and this year they played against Wayne Memorial, and they went into double overtime against them. They ended up losing, but it was cool to see like that. So it's like I think we would have done pretty good. We had a great group of girls. A few of them, had the opportunity to play at like colleges and stuff, and so that was fun to be able to see. But yeah, we were really good at defense. That was kind of our thing, and so I think we would have changed it up a little bit and made teams uncomfortable because they wouldn't have been able to score as easily as they normally would. So
no, Lily, the response is absolutely. We would have won the state championship. No one can question you otherwise.
Yeah. Well, that's a given. That's a given.
All right, good. So basketball season's over now. I guess what are you doing to prepare for next season? Being a freshman in the Big Ten, what's your basketball prep looking like?
Yeah. Right now, I have kind of taken a little bit of a break. I just came back from the McDonald's All-American game, which was last week, and so I was kind of doing stuff up until then to kind of stay in shape, keep shooting and stuff. But right now, for 2 weeks, I am focusing on track because I'm doing that for the first time ever. So nice. That'll be really fun. I'm doing like discus and high jump. I'm doing something called Senior Survivor. So that is keeping me very busy. But once I am finished with that, probably just being able to get into the gym every day. We have a shooting machine. My coach, Coach Pifo, he is always willing to be able to like kind of get open gyms going whenever we need to with players, because we have a lot of other girls who are going to play in college also. And so being able to do that, there's Michigan Mystics. They always have open gyms. And so I have been more than welcome to always go and join them. So I'll probably go a few times just to kind of get up and down the court. But then also just kind of getting in the weight room as much as I can. I've heard that is a very big transition from college to high school, or from high school to college, is just the strength of players on the court. And so kind of being able to get in the weight room and get stronger in that aspect of it is also kind of a huge focus for me.
And you just mentioned that you played in the McDonald's All-American game, and I noted earlier that you were the Gatorade Player of the Year and also the Miss Michigan Basketball Award winner. How does it feel to receive those accolades, and how did it feel to play in that game?
Oh my goodness. It is kind of, I've been asked this question so many times, and you'd think I'd have like an answer for it, but I'm kind of just speechless for it because it's kind of a surreal experience to be able to say that you're a part of that and to be able to say that you've achieved those awards. But I would just say that I'm super beyond thankful. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have been able to get these awards if it wasn't for like the people in my life who helped me get to this point. And so it's cool when you take a step back and just look at it and realize that kind of the army that's behind you, helping you get to this point, that has stood by you since day one to be able to help you get there. And so it's cool to be able to see that support that you have. And so I'm just super thankful that I get to be able to have that opportunity. So, yeah. But then at the games, just being able to be there, that was a super fun experience. At the McDonald's All-American game, we were there for a week. We got a few practices with our team. We had like a scrimmage, and we had the Jam Fest and stuff, and then we have our game. And so the game was an amazing experience. It was so fun to be able to play with a lot of the other top athletes and to be able to have that same experience with them because, you're all kind of have gone through the same thing. And so it's super fun to kind of finally be on the same court together to be able to play with each other and just being able to have that kind of speed. It's a completely different style in game of basketball, when you're with a lot of the top athletes in the country, being able to do what you do and just have fun doing it. Yeah, it was super fun and great to be able to meet all of them. Yeah, and it was kind of a great jump to, to kind of realize like what that next level is going to look like. And, you're not kind of just by yourself. There's also other great athletes. And so it was super fun to be able to compete at that level.
And that game was televised, right? Was it ESPN nationally?
Yeah.
I was actually at a restaurant with my daughter, Abby, and she said, "That's Lilly Williams playing in that game right there." And I said, "What?" And so I looked, and it was on the TV, and I said, "What? She's coming on the podcast." So that's exciting.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was funny. The amount of texts I had of like people taking pictures. They're like,
She's like, "Hey, yeah."
They're like, "I was just working out and I look up and like, you're on TV." And there was like, "I was in vacation in Florida for spring break." And they're like, "We're at like this, whatever." And they're like, "I look on TV," and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they just zoomed in on Lilly." Like, that's crazy. So it was fun to be able to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you most excited about to sort of join the next level in college in basketball and play at college?
Yeah, I'm just super excited just to be able to play at the next level. The speed of the game is one thing, the strength of the game is another. But I'm a competitor. I love being able to push myself as hard as I can, and so I think that it's going to be hard and it's going to be a challenge. But I think that that's something that I'm really going to enjoy, and I can't wait for that. The Big Ten is a great conference. They have a ton of great players, and so I'm super excited for that. You don't get a chance to be able to go against a lot of post players, especially in high school, your size. But in the Big Ten, every single team has an amazing post player, and so that's something I'm looking forward to kind of showcase just like my ability to be able to go against them, but then also being able to learn not just from like my coaches, but also from my teammates that I'm going to have.
You have a lot of young athletes out there that look up to you. What's your advice to them?
Just keep loving the game. Don't let what people say, don't let the media, don't let all of those side things ruin why you started playing. Basketball is a fun sport. It brings relationships, it brings memories, and hold on to that because there's going to be times that it gets hard and that you don't want to keep going. But remember why you started and remember that you have your support system around you and lean into that when you get through those hard times because it is so much more worth it in the long run when you push through those hard times because it is an amazing sport and what it has brought to my life is amazing. And so just, if you keep pushing hard, it's gonna give you great things. So.
And kind of on that point, any advice for someone going through the recruiting process? I know everyone's journey is different, but, from someone who has heard a lot of those conversations and taking visits, any advice there?
Yeah. I would say just really focus on how you feel at those places. Does it feel somewhere that you feel comfortable? Can you talk to the coaches? Do you feel like it's a home? And also something that was important for me is I looked at, is this going to be a program that I'm going to be able to play 4 years at and say at the end of it that you still love the game of basketball and that you would still want to play? Because if that's something that's not something that you think could happen there, then I don't think that that's a place that you should keep looking for because basketball is fun and you should have fun doing it. And like I said, it's going to be hard sometimes, but being able to find that program that's going to help you not just get better as a person, but also still love the game as you're doing it.
Well, you're going to be very close to where we're at right now when you're in East Lansing, and we look forward to following you, and we wish you the best of luck and really appreciate you coming on today. We know that you have a track meet to get here shortly, and so we're a little short on time, but we do appreciate your time today and hearing from you. And like I said, I hope you'd consider coming back on again after you're at Michigan State to tell us what that experience is like.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for just inviting me and letting me be a part of this. It was really fun.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Thanks, Lilly.